Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ IAS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar and today we'll be starting Delhi Sultanate. In the previous lecture we have talked about QGG, Qasim, Ghazni and Ghuri is also known as Muhammad Ghori, and we have also talked about how Muhammad Ghori did not have any sons or daughters, and he believed that slaves were his son, and these slaves will later on pave way for this particular Delhi Sultanate. But then in Delhi Sultanate, in Mamluk dynasty, there will be slave of a slave. There are different terms here. Iqtidari system. We have talked about Iqtidari system earlier also. Then we'll have a look at some NCERTs. We'll go to Khalji. So this will be a big lecture and this will be an important lecture because again, UPSC loves Delhi Sultanate. Who doesn't? Like from exam perspective as well as non-exam perspective. As we have discussed earlier that we will be doing this lecture, and like from last 3-4 lectures we are doing this. But apart from that, we'll also revising the other lectures earlier done so that you don't forget them. So in the previous lecture we have talked about Solanki, Paramaras, Chandelas. So there is a question for you based on current UPSC pattern. Consider the following pairs, dynasty and their capital. So first Solanki, their capital is written as Dhar. Second Paramaras, their capital is written as Patan. And third is Chandelas, their capital is written as Khajuraho. Now the question is how many pairs are correctly matched? Only one, only two, all three, or none? Good evening, Bulbul. Consider the following pairs, dynasty and capital, Solanki, Paramaras, Chandelas, Solanki, Dhar, Paramaras, Patan, and Chandelas, Khajuraho. How many pairs are correctly matched? Good evening, Sundaram. So I will give you 10 to 20 seconds more. Questions will be tough, easy, medium, all kind of questions you will witness. That will prepare you for actual UPSC Pre 2025 scheduled on, if I'm not wrong, May 25, 2025. So Bulbul has given the answer. And she has said, okay, D. So Solanki's their capital was Ehnilwada or Patan. This we have discussed earlier. Solanki's they are also known as Chaulukyas, and that is not equal to Chalukyas. And then you have something known as Paramaras, or a dynasty known as Paramaras. Their capital was hovering around Dhar. Raja Bhoj is one of the very famous king, one of the most famous king associated with Paramaras. Then Chandelas, their capital is Khajuraho. That is correctly matched. And Chandelas, they used to rule in the Jejaka Bhukti region, which is the current Bundelkhand region. So third is correct, first and second are wrong. So the answer is A, only one. And again, this is a tricky question. So if you are getting it wrong right now, don't worry too much about it. But ensure that you revise all these things. We have done this in the previous lecture. Go and read about Chaulukyas, Ehnilwada, Patan, their capital. We have talked about Paramaras of Malwa, their capital was Dhar, Raja Bhoj. So we have talked about all these things. You should not be making mistakes in these questions which you have already read. As we have discussed, Nadi kinare saap hai, pada hua galat karna paap hai. That means alongside a river bank you will witness a snake, and if you are making mistakes in the things already read, that is actually a sin. It sounds so stupid when you are paraphrasing it to English, but again, hope you are understanding it. So Chandelas of Bundelkhand, Kandaria Mahadev temple, this Khajura Vahaka, that is Khajuraho. Let's solve one more question and then we will enter into Delhi Sultanate, Mamluk, slave dynasty, Kutubuddin Aibak, Lakh Baksh. What was happening there? And different writers, different authors, Hasan Nizami, etc., etc. We'll talk about all of them in an interesting manner. So place and significance. This is a question straight taken out of NCERT. Class 6 or class 7 NCERT. And again, if you're making mistakes in these questions, then you should revise properly the things which you have earlier done. Good evening, Kritika. So match the following. Place and significance. A, Narmada Valley. B, Magad. C, Garo Hills. D, Indus and its tributaries. E, Ganga Valley. And the significance part. Second question for the day, and then we'll go and read theory, and then when we'll get bored of theory, we'll solve some more questions. So what according to you is the answer? This is a NCERT question, so please pay attention. Whoever gives the answer first, I will start the discussion then. Okay, so I have not got any answer. That means again you people have to revise a lot. See here, they have given 1, as like E equals to 3, or E they have given us 3. That is, okay, I have to tell the options also for people who are differentially abled. So place and significance. A, Narmada Valley, first big kingdom, 1. B, Magad, second is hunting and gathering. C, Garo Hills, third is cities about 2500 years ago. D, Indus and its tributaries, 4 is early agriculture. E, Ganga Valley, 5 is the first city. And you have to match them. A option is small a1, b2, c4, d5, e3. Hope you're understanding. Kritika has given the answer. B is a2, b1, c5, d4, e3. C is a1, b2, c5, d4, e3. And D is a2, b1, c4, d5, e3. So, Kritika, yeah, I read this thing, Bulbul, for you. So what is the answer? Ganga Valley, they have already given, it is 3. Cities about 2500 years ago. That means they're talking about second urbanization, which happened around 600 BCE. So now what you have to eliminate? What else you can read here? Like, you know, Narmada Valley, you can associate with hunting and gathering because we talk about Adamgarh, Bhimbetka. So A is 2. So if you are having A as 2, so you can eliminate A and C, you're left with B and D. Then what else? Indus and its first tributaries. The first city established or Harappan civilization got established here. So D is 5. So if D is 5, D is 5 in both. No, D is 5 here only. So A2, B1, C4, D5, E3. You know? So that's how you can eliminate. What you people have written? Nobody has written D. Ideally, I think the answer should be D. This is a tricky question, very tricky question. So you cannot take NCERT lightly. So please revise these questions. These can become very, very, very tricky. Okay. So now let's jump to Delhi Sultanate Mamluk dynasty. So as we have discussed earlier, Ghurid Empire, Muhammad Ghori, their slaves, they established, or they were the first dynasty which established Delhi Sultanate, and they were known as, and it is also known as slave dynasty. It is said that in Quran, slave is called as Mamluk. So they are also known as Mamluk dynasty, 1206 to 1290. Let me give you a conceptual clarity first, and then we will look at the slide. So 1206, Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak, you can write the whole name, who was one of the most trusted slave of Muhammad Ghori. He established this particular slave dynasty or Mamluk dynasty. But as you will look at this particular dynasty for 100 years, approximately 100 years, from 1206 till almost 1296, Jalaluddin, you know, we'll talk about Jalaluddin Khalji and then Alauddin Khilji. Almost 90 years, 100 years, it will be almost static, like stagnant. This whole dynasty will not expand. Delhi Sultanate will not expand. It will be a period of consolidation. Please try to understand the basic concept. It is a period of consolidation because you already know these Muhammad Ghori, he has made so many enemies. Karamatiyas we have talked about in the previous lecture, you know. So many people he had angered. Rajputs are waiting. Then during this particular period, Mongols were also a big threat. All these things, all these factors will play a crucial role why slave dynasty will be majorly about consolidation. Expansion will happen to a certain degree in Khalji dynasty, and then when we will talk about Tughlaq, the whole consolidation has happened now. They can expand southward, and that will come with their own set of problems. We'll talk about it. Good evening, Manisha. Good evening, everyone. Fine. So Mamluk dynasty, 1206, Qutbuddin Aibak. He established it. He ruled for 4 years. Very small period. He's also known as Lakh Baksh because he was a big donor. He used to give, you know, donations and everything. Anyway, if you read about the core tenets of Islam, which is there in NCERT, that donation is one of the core 4 or 5 attributes of Islam that you should, you know, donate. Anyway, it's there in Hinduism also to a certain extent. It's there in other religion also, and it is there in Islam also. So Lakh Baksh, he's known as, and then there is a question, there was a UPSC PYQ on Qutbuddin Aibak, that how did he die? He died while playing Chaugan, which is known as horse polo. As we have discussed in the previous lecture, that Qutbuddin Aibak is one of the trusted slaves of Muhammad Ghori, but Muhammad Ghori had other slaves as well. And among those slaves was one slave who was ruling here in Lakhnauti region. His name was Bakhtiyar Khalji, which many of us know. Bakhtiyar Khalji, and he established a Khalji dynasty here. Please pay attention. This is not the Khalji dynasty of Delhi Sultanate. He established his own local Khalji dynasty, you know, which ruled till 1227 AD. This guy, Bakhtiyar Khalji, died in 1206 AD only, if I'm not wrong. The same year when Qutbuddin Aibak ascended throne, and Qutbuddin Aibak actually was ruling from Lahore. The capital of Qutbuddin Aibak was Lahore, not Delhi. And there is a reason for it. Most of these reasons is hovering around the map. So you have to pay attention to the map. In the previous lecture, what we have discussed, that Muhammad Ghori had so many slaves. This is, Bakhtiyar Khilji is one slave whom we know about a lot, like, or little bit. Then you have Qutbuddin Aibak. Then here, Ghazni, you have another, slave, Yalduj, and then there is another one who is known as Kubecha. So Yalduj, Kubecha, all these guys. So one is ruling over Ghazni, other is ruling over Multan and the Sindh area, Uch area. So because let's try to understand via map why Qutbuddin Aibak made Lahore his capital rather than Delhi. And this is actually a very important point which you have to keep in mind, because most of the people will feel like Delhi was the capital of Qutbuddin Aibak. No, it was not. Lahore was the capital, because Lahore was nearer to Ghazni as well as it was nearer to Multan and certain portion of Sindh region. That's why Qutbuddin Aibak made Lahore his capital. And later on, when Iltutmish will come, he will shift the capital from Lahore to Delhi. Lagdi Lahore diya. You can remember it like this. Guru Randhawa. Cool. So Qutbuddin Aibak. And then what happened? He died in like 1210. And after that, there was a son of his, Aram Shah or something. He ruled for a year. Many people are very confused about this guy, Aram Shah, whether he was actually the son or not. And there is only one book which talks about this guy. And again, this means the history is little hazy about Aram Shah. But nobody denies the fact that he was the ruler and he ruled for a small period of time after Qutbuddin Aibak. And in 1211, he was deposed, he was removed, and Iltutmish started ruling. Iltutmish, he was the slave of Qutbuddin Aibak, So Qutbuddin Aibak was a slave of Muhammad Ghori. Iltutmish was a slave of Qutbuddin Aibak. So Iltutmish is also known as slave of a slave. And again, these kind of questions have been asked a lot. Who is slave of a slave? Iltutmish is slave of a slave. Fine. And then he will consolidate his empire. He is actually called the real founder of Delhi Sultanate. Because as you can realize, Qutbuddin Aibak, he ruled for 4 years. The problem persisted in Ghazni, problem persisted in Multan, Uch region, And so Iltutmish was the one who actually consolidated the empire. He is considered to be the real founder of Delhi Sultanate. He ruled from 1211 to 1236 AD. And what he did, so he was such a, there are so many things associated with him. Iqtidari system, he introduced Iqtidari system. He introduced Turkane Chahalgani. Turkane Chahalgani, a corps of 40. Again, that will play a very, big role in later part when we'll talk about Razia Sultan, when we'll talk about Balban, Nasiruddin Mahmud. All these guys, when we are talking about this Turkane Chahalgani or corps of 40, we'll talk about it. Fine. So Iltutmish, Iqtidari system, he introduced copper coins, silver coins, Taka and Jital, and he is the husband of her daughter. Okay. So we'll try to understand, we'll try to see this. And then he is also known as father of tomb building in India, Iltutmish. Sundaram is saying that. Husband of her daughter. Okay, so Iltutmish, father of tomb building in India. Again, remember these small facts because this will play a crucial role. They can ask you these kind of questions. Why he is known as father of tomb building in India? So he had a son, Iltutmish had a son called Nasiruddin Mahmud. And he used to love him a lot. And according to various, books, he wanted to make him, the king. But he died at a very early age, Nasiruddin Mahmud, and that shocked Iltutmish and he made a tomb in Delhi. And that's why he's known as father of tomb building in India. He also shifted the capital from Lahore to Delhi. And then Razia Sultan showed so much promise. And she started wearing, clothes in a man-made manner. Hope you're understanding. So this guy, Iltutmish, he got very impressed with Razia Sultan. And then Razia Sultan ruled from 1236 to 1240. And then again we will see Nasiruddin Mahmud will come later also. He will rule from 1246 to 1266. Now the question here is, who is this other Nasiruddin Mahmud? Because one Nasiruddin Mahmud had already died, and in memory of whom Iltutmish has made a tomb in Delhi. And that's why he's known as father of tomb building in India. So that was another guy, because at that time and even like 100 years back, we used to produce a lot of child, and total fertility rate was very high. So Iltutmish had so many sons and daughters. So he produced another son and he named that son Nasiruddin Mahmud. So don't get confused here when we are talking about multiple Nasiruddin Mahmud. So let's start the lecture. Let's see some slides. I have given you a brief idea. So beginning of Delhi Sultanate, we have discussed this. Muhammad Ghori died in 1206. What happened, and he had to control the Central Asian region also. He established this particular kingdom, and taking advantage of the length and breadth of the empire, what happened? There was a small regional local Khalji dynasty established by Bakhtiar Khalji in the Lakhnauti region. And then later on, he went to a Tibet expedition. This Bakhtiar Khalji, he destroyed Buddhist monasteries, etc., etc. So maybe he wanted to destroy some more Buddhist monasteries, etc. So he went to a Tibet expedition, which was catastrophic for him or went disastrous for him. During that period, he installed a guy called Ali Mardan Khalji, that you rule over Lakhnauti, I am coming from Tibet. And then that was a disaster. He came back and Ali Mardan killed him. So he died in 1206, and for 21 years more, this Khalji dynasty ruled in Lakhnauti. Don't confuse this particular Khalji dynasty with the Khalji dynasty of Delhi Sultanate. They are different. Sir, I want to share a problem that is bothering me and really... Okay. So I will deal with this issue later on, Manisha. At the end, we will discuss all these things. So you have to talk to those guys, why they have, that other institute. We will talk about this. Fine. So let's talk about this whole thing. So again, they are talking about the extent, and we have discussed it, that initial period, 1206 to 1290, and even the early years of Khalji period, it is all about consolidation, because they have so many enemies and foes to deal with, Rajputs, Mongols, and then they have issues with themselves only. All the slaves, different slaves, they will fight among themselves. Yalduj, Kubecha, Kutubuddin Aibak, Bakhtiar Khilji, Ali Mardan, all these guys, they are fighting among themselves. So consolidation is the major aim in the initial part. Rajput rulers, they are still there. They will be there. Shishodiyas of Mewar, all these guys, they're still waiting for an opportunity, because, they want revenge for whatever has been done by Muhammad Ghori and his slaves. Internal conflict, Yalduj, Kubecha. So Yalduj is holding on to Ghazni, and Kubecha is holding on to this particular area, that is Multan and the Sindh region. So these are formidable, rivals of Kutubuddin Aibak, and they will remain rival for Iltutmish in the early period as well. Fine. Yes, we'll talk about this issue, Manisha, at the end. We'll take this doubt. So yes, sir. So again, they are saying the same thing. You can have a look at this. Mongols were under threat, and UPSC love Mongols. They have asked so many questions on Mongols. The first attack which happened on Delhi Sultanate, the first Mongol attack happened during the reign of Iltutmish in around 1221 AD, And then they faced Mongol attacks time and again. And then there are different policies which were followed by different guys, What Iltutmish followed, then what Razia followed, what Balban followed. During Balban period, he even lost one of his son, Prince Muhammad, when he was battling with Mongols. And that battle is known as Battle of Vyas River. So these are important facts which we will talk about later on also. Battle of Vyas River, which happened in 1285. And this is again a very tragic kind of a story, that Balban, he had this son, Prince Muhammad. He wanted him to become the king. But this Prince Muhammad died in the Battle of Vyas River, which was fought between, slave dynasty and Mongols. And then he had another son. Balban had another son whose name was Bukhara Khan. Bukhara Khan. Bukhara Khan was at that time ruling over Bengal, because Bengal, this Khilji dynasty of Bakhtiar Khilji ended in 1227. So Bukhara Khan was sent by Balban to rule over Bengal. Bengal was a rich and prosperous area at that point of time. Since Prince Muhammad died, Balban asked Bukhara Khan that, bro, please come back and rule over Delhi Sultanate. He was like, no, sir. No, Papa, I'm happy here only. I'm not coming back to Delhi, because if I become, king of such a big dynasty, I will have so many enemies. I don't want that. I'm happy in Bengal. So then in that scenario, Balban decided that he will make the son of Prince Muhammad as the king. That son also died. And then finally, the son of Bukhara Khan, who was ruling over Bengal, he was made the king of Delhi Sultanate. So such a irony is there, that the father is ruling over Lakhnauti, a regional part, and the son is ruling over the Delhi Sultanate. So we'll talk about that particular thing as well later on. So again, Mongols were another threat, internal conflicts, all these things will lead to consolidation. Always have a look at the map. Map will help you in better understanding. Timeline of different dynasties. So again, you should not be looking at these timelines. You should make or write these timelines on your own. So slave or Mamluk dynasty, 1206 to 1290, right? All these are in AD or CE. And then you have Khalji or, see, sometimes people get confused. Khalji and Khilji, they are the same. So Khalji or Khilji dynasty, 1290 to 1320. Then you have Tughlaq, 1320 to 1414. Then you have Sayyid, that is 1414 to 1451. Many of you may have remembered these dates. If you have not remembered these dates, then remember it. That will help you a lot, again, in eliminating so many questions. So this is the proper chronology. Slave 1206 to 1290, Khalji 1290 to 1320, Tughlaq 1320 to 1414, Sayyid around 37 years, and then the Lodi. Don't go by the years. See, years will tell you that, oh my God, you know, Tughlaq were ruling for such a long period, slaves were ruling for such a long period, even Sayyid ruled for a considerable period, Lodi ruled for such a long period. You may realize that Khilji ruled for such short period. So maybe Sayyids are more important than Khalji. Sayyids are, no, that is not the reality. And again here, they say, don't live long. Live in such a way that even the short period is worth remembering. So those were Khaljis who in that particular 30 years did a lot of stuff. Good or bad, we can always debate about it. But yes, they did a lot of stuff. So Mamluk, Khalji and Tughlaq, they are very important from exam perspective. Then Sayyid, you have to find their contribution. They have done, because we'll see what has happened in 1398, who came, who attacked, Sayyids. They were so terrified of that particular guy who came in 1398 AD. So what happened after that? So again, Sayyid's contribution you have to extract, and then Lodis. So these three are very important, Mamluk, Khalji and Tughlaq. You cannot discount them, and you cannot discount Khalji by the fact that they ruled for a very short period. So when we are looking at this particular map, sir, as all these names are quite similar, so is there any particular method to remember all these? Are they similar? No. The best way to remember them, Kritika, is to have a look at them again and again. I will make you remember them, don't worry about it. So here you can see 4 dynasty. As we have talked about Delhi Sultanate, there were 5 dynasty. So which particular dynasty are we skipping here? A very funny idea to remember. Give it, Bulbul. What is your idea? How do you remember these Delhi Sultanate? So which particular Delhi Sultanate is skipped here in this particular image? Anyone? Fast. 10 more seconds. So you have Mamluk, you have Khalji, you have Tughlaq, you have Lodi. Have we skipped someone? Sundaram is saying Sayyid dynasty, because again their contribution is so less that sometimes in maps, people, scholars, they skip Sayyid dynasty. So Sayyid dynasty must be feeling like people are doing their, demeaning them, but that is not the purpose. It's just a joke. It's panchayat, gajab beizati hai yaar. Fine. So slave dynasty, Mamluk dynasty, please remember this word, Mamluk, Quranic term for slave. Most of the people, they remember slave dynasty. You have to also remember the Mamluk word. So Qutbuddin Aibak, Turkish slave of Muhammad Ghori. We have talked about all these things. Have a look at this. Please remember this part. This is the part which we have discussed earlier. You have to pay attention to the keywords. His capital was, although it's Delhi Sultanate, but the capital of the first, Delhi Sultanate ruler was not Delhi. It was Lahore. Lagdi Lahore diya Guru Randhawa. Good guy. So Lagdi Lahore diya means, the English meaning of that particular phrase, I also don't know. That means maybe you look like Lahore. So his rule lasted for a short period of 4 years. Lakh Baksh, we have talked about him, how he was like dealing with so many people at once. The disgruntled Rajput rulers, the unhappy Rajput rulers or Rajput descendants, and then Yalduj Kubecha, Bakhtiyar Khilji and his descendant, although Bakhtiyar Khilji has died in 1206. Ali Mardan was there in Lakhnauti, plus Mongols, etc. Although Mongols will come a little bit later, but they were there at the frontier. So all these. Hey Bhagwan. So these are the mnemonics you people have for remembering the dynasties. Okay. So let's focus here. So Qutbuddin Aibak, what were the problems? Rajputs, other Turks, other slaves of Muhammad Ghori, which we have discussed. Yalduj, Kubecha and all those. So you can have a look at this. We have discussed this earlier. And now there are some different terms. Lakh Baksh. They can directly ask you, which among the following ruler is known as Lakh Baksh? And the answer is Kutubuddin Aibak. Fine. Now here there is a very interesting story. You have to remember these authors. There is a cheat code when it comes to Delhi Sultanate, and that cheat code is Barni. Later on, when we will talk about other rulers and etc. etc. So you will hear about Barni, Ziauddin Barni. He wrote two books. One is Fatwa-e Jahandari, if I am not wrong, Fatwa-e Jahandari. Another is Tariq-e Firoz Shahi. Tariq-e Firoz Shahi has been written by one other guy also with the same name, but Barni is a major source. I will tell you what is the cheat code here. I feel sad that I can never visit, but I do wish. Okay. No, not to be sorry, but again, other people can remember it like this. But again, the more map you see, the more you will be able to remember it. Mnemonics always work. So, Barni, Fatwa-e Jahandari, Tariq-e Firoz Shahi. So, there is a cheat code here, like in education. When you talk about education, you talk about ASER report, Annual Status of Education report, published by NGO Pratham, asked by UPSC earlier. Similarly, when you talk about education, ASER. When you talk about health, you talk about Lancet Journal. When you talk about polity and different commissions, different reports, so you talk about NCRWC Commission, National Commission to Review the Working of Constitution, which is also known as Venkatchalia Commission. When you talk about ethics, you talk about second ARC, Ethics and Governance report. Similarly, when you talk about Delhi Sultanate, you can always write in your mains answer that according to Barni, this happened, according to Barni, that happened, because Barni has talked about almost all the dynasty. He was during the period of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So don't write after the Tughlaq period, because he was not there to talk about Sayyid and Lodi, but he has talked about the Mamluks, he has talked about the Khaljis, he has talked about a major portion of Tughlaq also. So Barni is a safe bet. But here there was no Barni at this particular point of time. He will come later. Here the scholar is Hasan Nizami, and he wrote a book called Tajul Masir. And you have to remember these names. These names are very important, and these names you can remember when you know the story behind it. So it is said that this Hasan Nizami guy, he arrived, around 1206. And he started writing. He was given patronage by Kutubuddin Aibak. He started writing in Tajul Masir. He started the history from 1192 AD. He started from second battle of Tarayan, because he did not want to, make his Muhammad Ghori angry that his guru, or that Muhammad Ghori, he was defeated in the first battle of Tarayan. So he started writing from 1192. He wrote till 1196 AD. That information is awesome. And after that, the information is very hazy. After that also he wrote till 1227-28 AD. He started writing around 1206, he wrote till 1228-29. But many people feel like that after 1210, 1210 Kutubuddin Aibak died and Iltutmish came. Maybe Iltutmish did not give patronage to Hasan Nizami, and that's why the history which he is writing after 1196 AD, that is not very, he's not writing it from his whole heart, because maybe the patronage was not given by Iltutmish. But the story or the history which he has written from 1192 AD to 1196 AD, that is actually very reliable and trustworthy. So that's why maybe he was not writing from his whole heart, from his whole man, whatever you call man in English, because patronage was not given by Iltutmish. So please pay attention to this fact. This is important. Hasan Nizami, and which book he wrote? Tajul Masir. These books are important. These names are important. Yes, Barni was an author. And yeah. So again, Qutub Minar, many people feel, and this information is already known to you, that many people feel like Qutub Minar is named after Kutubuddin Aibak. No, he named it after Kutubuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, who was a Sufi saint. When we'll talk about Bhakti saint, Sufi saint, Bhakti movement, Sufi movement, you will hear about these, Sufi saints, you will hear about Chistis, you will hear about Silsilas. What are different Silsila? Chisti Silsila, Suhrawardi Silsila, Naqshbandi Silsila. So you will know more about them. Fine. It was later completed by Iltutmish. Qutub Minar. He died while playing Chaugan, and this particular thing has been asked by UPSC earlier in PYQ. Chaugan is horse polo. How did he die? He was succeeded by his son Aram Shah. See, there is a question mark here. What does question mark denote? That we are not very sure whether he was actually son or not, because historians are, fighting over it. But everybody is very sure about this particular fact, that this guy succeeded, Kutubuddin Aibak. And then he was replaced by Iltutmish. And here also there are certain doubts about Iltutmish. One thing we are very sure about is Iltutmish was from Ilbari tribe, and he was the slave of Kutubuddin Aibak, who was the slave of Muhammad Ghori, and that's why he is known as slave of the slave. Then the second point, many people say that Qutbuddin Aibak had 3 daughters, and Iltutmish was married to one of the daughters. Here again we have some issues. There is no proper confirmation that he actually married one of the daughters, one of the 3 daughters of Qutbuddin Aibak or not. But he was slave of Qutbuddin Aibak, that is confirmed. Fine, sir. So let's focus here. Okay, so we have read enough theory. We'll talk about some more theory, but before that, let's solve some questions. 2 questions we have done, 8 more questions we have to do. Some will be PYQ, some will be practice question based on current pattern. So third question in front of you, that is terms and meaning. First word is yava, the meaning is written as rice. Second word is vrihi, the meaning is written as wheat. Third word is godhuma, the meaning is written as barley. How many pairs are correctly matched? A only 1, B only 2, C all 3, D none. Just like many debate if the Gupta period was golden or not. Exactly. So Dark has given the answer. Very good. You people are studying things. So Yava is, and again, if you want to revise these things, go to Vedic period lecture and watch it again. We have discussed all these terms and their meanings there, So Yava is barley, Vrihi is rice, Godhuma is wheat. So none of the pair is correctly matched. All of them are wrong, So the answer is none. D is the answer, as Dark, Manisha, Sundaram has said. Bulbul, D is the answer, because I have written Yava as rice, Vrihi as wheat, and Godhuma is barley. All of them are wrong. Yava is barley, Vrihi is rice, and Godhuma is wheat. Okay, so let's, and again, early Vedic period economy, you can go to Vedic period lecture and you can read these things which is written here. So let's come back to Delhi Sultanate. So we are talking about slave dynasty, Mamluk dynasty, their first ruler Qutbuddin Aibak, and now we'll talk about the real founder Iltutmish, who was the slave of Qutbuddin Aibak. Belonged to which tribe? Ilbari tribe. And then he defeated Aram Shah, who was supposed to be the son of Qutbuddin Aibak, that we have discussed. Fine. And then again, he was fighting with Kubecha and Yalduj, who were the slaves of Muhammad Ghori, who also fought with Qutbuddin Aibak. Fine. And he shifted the capital from Lahore to Delhi, and now in a real sense we are talking about Delhi Sultanate, because the capital has shifted to Delhi. And then in his period, Mongols started pestering him, and it is said that he, you will see different policies, like you will see aggressive policy towards Mongols during the period of Balban, where he will fight battles. Here you will see during the period of, even Iltutmish and Razia Sultan, some amount of appeasement will be going on, or aloofness will be going on, that we don't want to do anything with Mongols. But you will see aggressive posture during Balban period, you will see aggressive posture during Khalji period. It is also said that Jalaluddin Khalji, he gave, Sharan. Sharan is the word that means he allowed some Mongols to settle in the northwest frontier part of India, and some of them converted to Islam, etc. But Alauddin Khilji was not very, sure about these Mongols and their intentions. So they had a lot of battles, around 6 battles with Mongols, Alauddin Khilji, in which Battle of Khilji is very important for us from exam perspective. So yes, sir, Mongols under Changgez Khan, and this time around, Changgez Khan, he died in 1227. So after that, whatever Balban faced, whatever Alauddin Khilji faced, all these were descendant of Changgez Khan. Changgez Khan was a, Mongol to be, terrified of. So again, you can say the real, the real terror was faced by Iltutmish around 2021 when Changgez Khan was still alive. And there are different stories that Changgez Khan wanted to come to India, and then because of the weather and the inhospitable weather, etc., he changed his plan at the last moment. God knows what would have happened if he has come to mainland India. And he was searching for a guy called as Khwaziram Shah. Khwaziram is an area in Central Asia whose name is Jalaluddin Mangbarni. He is also known as Khwaziram Shah. Iltutmish was like, bro, I am not giving you any asylum. You cannot live here. I don't want to face the wrath of Mongols. He did not give asylum to this guy Jalaluddin Mangbarni. And let's say you do not have history optional, I'm assuming that. But if you read about this guy Jalaluddin Mangbarni in detail, you'll be so impressed by this guy. He was a nomad literally, because Mongols were after him. And not only Mongols, even here the real Mongol, Changgez Khan. There were other descendants of Mongol, but he is the real Mongol. He is the real deal. He was after him, and then even when he was running here and there and he was a nomad, Jalaluddin Mangbarni, he was defeating one kingdom after other in Central Asia. If you read his history, awesome guy, means you will be impressed by this guy, Jalaluddin Mangbarni. But Iltutmish was like, bro, I will not give you asylum. I don't want to die. And that's what happened. So this part you have to understand. Fine. So Jalaluddin Mangbarni, Khwaziram Shah, no asylum. And then the other contribution of Iltutmish, Iqtidari system. In the previous lectures, I don't remember which lecture, one lecture back or two lecture back, we have talked about Iqtidari, Mansabdari and Zagirdari system. You know, what is the difference between Iqtidari, Mansabdari and Zagirdari system? So Iqtas are land. The people who are given Iqtas, they are known as Iqtidar or Mukti. You know, Iqtidar or Mukti. And they have to stay in these Iqtas and they have to maintain law and order in these areas. They will collect revenue from these areas. They will send a certain portion to king, keep a certain portion with themselves to maintain law and order, to maintain their army, etc., etc. So that is how Iqtidari system works. And then Mansabdari and Zagirdari system also we have discussed there, which we will talk about later on also when we are discussing Mughals. That in Mansabdari system, the officers are known as Mansabs and they have to maintain something known as Jat and Sawar. Jat are, you know, horses and Sawar, you know, horsemen. So horses and horsemen, they have to maintain a certain amount. If they are paid in land, that land is known as Jagir and then they will also be called as Jagirdar. But unlike the Iqtadars or Muktis who have to stay in their Iqta, these Mansab, they do not have to stay in their Jagir. They can stay anywhere. Their main purpose is to maintain Jat and Sawar. So when I was telling you all these differences between Iqtadari, Mansabdari and Jagirdari system, counter questions followed which I answered. Now I will show you the source from where I cited myself. See here. This is NCERT class 7 chapter 4 page 4. New NCERT, new rationalized NCERT. New rationalized NCERT. So what it is saying? So again, don't undermine NCERT. NCERT class 6 to class 12 is important, but you don't have to read them. I will read them for you. See here, Mansabdars receive their salary as revenue assignment called Jagir. So if they are given land called Jagir, they are Jagirdar. But let's say they are paid in cash, then in that scenario, Mansabdars are not Jagirdars, which were somewhat like Iqtas. But unlike Muktis, Iqtadars, most Mansabdars did not actually reside in or administer their Jagir. They only had rights to revenue of their assignment, which was collected for them by their servants, while the Mansabdars themselves served in some other part of the country. And this is what differentiates Mansabdar from Iqtadar or Mukti. So this part you have to keep it in mind. NCERT class 7, chapter 4, page 4, you can go and have a look at it. Fine, cool. So Iltutmish 1211 to 1236. So you have to understand the terms associated with Iltutmish, Iqtidari system. He introduced it. Silver taka, copper jital. Whenever you are hearing these words, you have to revise the other coins. Like during the period of Guptas, we have talked about gold. They introduced gold coin, which was known as something. They introduced silver coin, which was known as something. So what was the gold and silver coin during Gupta period? What it was known as? Anybody has any idea? UPSC has asked a PYQ on that. So silver taka, copper jital during Delhi Sultanate period. This nomenclature will go on. Taka and jital. Taka is silver and jital is copper. Now let's revise. Gold and silver was popular during Gupta period. So what was gold coin known as and what was silver coin known as? You always have to revise stuff. Then only you can become awesome in these things. Silver taka, copper jital. So gold coin during Gupta period, silver coin during Gupta period. Gold is, you have to revise, go and revise Gupta lecture. So gold was dinara, this is a PYQ, so it is important bros, and UPSC PYQ. So gold dinara, silver rupaka, and here we are talking about Gupta period. Fine. So he gave patronage to many scholars, including Minhajus Siraj. So again, see here, we have talked about Hasan Nizami, how he was so unhappy after Kutubuddin Aibak died. Why? Because Iltutmish was more interested in Minhajus Siraj than Hasan Nizami, and he did not give patronage, and that's why Hasan Nizami's book Tajul Masir suffered. So here He is giving patronage to Minhaj Siraz, who is writing Tabaqat-e Nasiri. So all these books are important. Hassan, we have talked about Tajul Masir, we are talking about Tabaqat-e Nasiri, we have talked about Barni's book Fatwa-e Jahandiri or Tariq-e Firoz Shahi. So these books you have to remember. And then who is called as father of tomb building in India? He is Iltutmish. And here also the story we have discussed, that he had a son called Nasiruddin Mahmud, who died at a very young age. He wanted to make him the king, and in his memory, he made this tomb, Sultan Garhi tomb, this tomb. And that's why he's known as father of tomb building in India. Fine. Chalisha or Chahalgani. See, understand one thing. When we will later on talk about Khaljis, we will see that Khaljis, they were also seen as a revolution. This will remind you of Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic period. When we're talking about Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic period, we have seen Paleolithic to Mesolithic, it was an evolution. Mesolithic to Neolithic, it was seen as a revolution because so many things changed. Similarly, many people believe that Khaljis, whom we will talk about later on, they were a revolution. Why? Because both slaves, Mamluks as well as Khaljis, they are Turkish. But Khaljis were Turco-Afghan. Turco-Afghan means they were Turkish people, but they have settled in Afghanistan region. And there was a region called Khalji, and that's how they have got their name as Khalji region in Afghanistan. So they have adopted the Afghani custom. And here when you will see these guys, the Mamluk guys, the slave guys or slave rulers, you will see that they are very particular about Turkish guys getting higher post. And these Chalisas or Chahalgani or Corps of 40, these are these guys who are Turkish nobles and who will play a crucial role later on also. Later on when you will see Iltutmish's daughter Razia Sultan, he will try to make an Abyssinian slave Yakut as, give the higher post and something. So people will revolt against her. And that would be a major reason why she will lose the crown and finally her life. So people were very particular during this period that Turkish nobles are getting higher post. But when we will talk about Khaljis, you will realize that they are called as a revolution because they made sure that it doesn't matter whether you are Turkish or non-Turkish. The thing which matters actually is whether you are, honest or not, whether you are talented or not, something like that. So that's why it was called as a revolution. We'll talk about that later on also. Good Ghurid Empire Kha. Okay, very good Harishar, very nice. Good nomenclature. So father of tomb building, Chalisa or Chahalgani, you can see so many contribution associated with Iltutmish. You don't have to worry too much. The more stories you hear, the more you will be remembering about them. Fine. And this is Sultan Garhi tomb associated with Nasiruddin Mahmud, the son of Iltutmish who died early. And then there will be another son of Iltutmish who will be known as Nasiruddin Mahmud because they used to produce a lot of sons and daughters because they had a lot of time to do that. And yeah, it's a good thing to do. So he had a younger son. He named him Nasiruddin Mahmud. Later on, Balban will marry his daughter to Nasiruddin Mahmud. That Nasiruddin Mahmud will rule from 1246 to 1266, which was virtually a period when Balban was ruling. Because that guy was like, dude, I don't want to rule. I just want to play music and be with my wife. He died without a son. And then in 1266, Balban took over. So many people believe that Balban ruled from 1266 to 1287. Some people believe that he actually ruled from 1246 to 1287 because even when Nasiruddin Mahmud was ruling, who was his son-in-law, so to say, Balban was virtually ruling. So again, these things we'll understand later on. So Iltutmish, he was in general, if you compare him with other kings, you can talk about the negative things, this and that, but in general, people accepted him. And from here, you are seeing a dynastic succession or his king or his sons and daughters being accepted by the people. Because earlier, what you have seen, Kutubuddin Aibak, he was a slave of Muhammad Ghori. And then after Kutubuddin Aibak, Aram Shah was there for a small period. And then Iltutmish came, who was again a slave. But from Iltutmish period, you are seeing sons and daughters of Iltutmish going to crown or ruling over, Delhi Sultanate. So that's what is written here. Iltutmish earned the deep respect and attachment of the people of Delhi to his family, as a consequence of which the right of his children to succeed him was accepted. D from the first word. Okay, Harish, we'll do that. So again, this is what is written here. You can have a look at it. And they are saying that Aibak outlined the Delhi Sultanate and its sovereign status. Iltutmish was unquestionably its first king, and this is what you have to remember. Now we have discussed, initially Iltutmish wanted to make Nasiruddin Mahmud as the king of Delhi Sultanate, but he died early, and then he saw potential in Razia, so he made Razia and he nominated Razia Sultan. And Razia Sultan became the first and the only, last Muslim ruler of medieval period, medieval India. And we'll talk about other rulers who ruled in different periods and in South India and Rudram Devi and all those. But here, first and last Muslim woman ruler of, you can say Delhi Sultanate also, and she succeeded her brother. So there is a half brother of Ruknuddin Firoz. What is half brother? As we have discussed earlier, during that period, kings used to marry a lot and they used to produce sons and daughters a lot. So Iltutmish married a lot. So, and from one, wife he had Ruknuddin Firoz, from another wife he had Razia Sultan. So many people at that time, we have seen the hereditary thinking or orthodox thinking, that is the right word here, that Turkish nobles were ensuring Turkane Chehelgani, which was installed by Iltutmish, the corpse of 40 nobles. But according to Barni, he hardly find 25 nobles. So that is just a nomenclature, Turkane Chehelgani or corpse of 40. Many people believe that it was not more than 25 nobles. But these nobles were ensuring who is going to be in power or not, right? And they were not liking Razia Sultan. So they wanted Ruknuddin Firoz, but Razia was smart, she was shrewd, and she removed Ruknuddin Firoz and she ruled for 4 years. But again, that whole thing with that Abyssinian slave, Abyssinia, please remember these words, they can ask you. Abyssinia is the old name of which particular country? Anyone having any idea? Abyssinia is the old name of which particular country? Abyssinian slave. Abyssinia is the old name of Ethiopia. Here history and geography is merging, so don't forget it, So Yakut. So she disregarded Parda, etc. But that is fine. This point will be somewhat of a final nail in the coffin of Razia Sultan. She appointed an Abyssinian slave, Ethiopian slave, a black slave, a non-Turkish slave, Yakut, as master of royal horses, which is a higher designation, generally associated with Turkish nobles or Turkish nobles. And you will realize this is very much going on in the slave dynasty, which will not happen in the Khalji dynasty. And that's why it was seen as a revolution by many. So this aroused resentment among the Turkish nobles. The corpse of 40, the Turkane Chehelgani, installed by or started by Iltutmish. Altunia, the governor of Bhatinda, he revolted, and again there is a movie also made on this, that he captured this, she personally suppressed the revolt, and this guy took Razia as prisoner, and then they will fall in love and they will marry each other and finally they will be killed. So that is a different story altogether. Many historians are of the view that Razia Sultan married, Altunia because she wanted to get free and she wanted to get her kingdom back. Whatever may be the reason, this whole thing is you may have heard about it. And the point which you have to remember is all these things are happening because Turkish nobles do not want non-Turkish people at higher posts. And this guy, Yakut, was one such guy. Abyssinian black slave, not, liked by the Turkish nobles. So why we have taken this Sikhni Hume Bhatinda ki? Because when we were talking about Altunia, he was the governor of Bhatinda. And that's how you will remember these names, Altunia, Yakut. Yakut, many people believe that he was the, somewhat lover or something. Again, we'll not go there into those, again, conspiracy theories and chatpat news and all those stuff. So again, those things are for speculation. You have to remember the name when I tell you these cheesy stories so that you can remember it. Abyssinian, Ethiopian. That is a word which you have to keep in mind. And then Razia Sultan. See, Mongols, 1221, Iltutmish faced the initial attack, or at the frontiers. But he was like, bro, I am adopting a policy of aloofness. I don't want to do anything with you. You don't want me to keep Jalaluddin Mangbarni or Khwaziram Shah. I will not keep him. On the other hand, Razia Sultan, she was shrewd, as we have discussed. She was like, okay, we will send you gifts. You are at the northwest frontier. You enjoy there. Just don't come inside. Policy of appeasement. And later on, the policy will become more and more aggressive when the kings will become more and more stronger. Like Balban was adopting a blood and iron policy. So he was like, okay, we'll fight Mongols. Although he lost his son Prince Muhammad, whom he wanted to make the king. But again, Battle of Vyas River, 1285, this you have to remember. So that is what is written here. She was defeated and killed. And then this whole thing leads to these Turkane Chehelgani, corpse of 40. Balban was a part of this corpse of 40. So he is seeing what corpse of 40 is doing. So initially from this corpse of 40, Balban will emerge and he will ensure that Nasiruddin Mahmud, who was one of the many sons of Iltutmish, the second Nasiruddin Mahmud, becomes the king in 1246. So there is a lull of 6 years here. See, Razia dies in 1240 And we are seeing, in a way, the era of Balban will start from 1246 when Nasiruddin Mahmud will become the king, who is one of the son of Iltutmish. So in between, it is assumed that Bahram, Mashood Shah, all these who were the sons of Iltutmish, they ruled for some period. And in 1246, Balban, a member of Corps of 40 Turkane Chehalgani, remember these names, he succeeded in putting Nasiruddin Mahmud, a younger son of Iltutmish, as Sultan. Why it is interesting? Because he is the second Nasiruddin Mahmud. First Nasiruddin Mahmud, already a tomb has been made at Sultan Gadi, and that's why Iltutmish is known as father of tomb building in India. These facts you have to keep in mind. Ethiopia as Dark is saying. So again, smart boy, what is smart boy? And she was a smart girl, Razia, that she was following a policy of appeasement. But only for 4 years she was able to rule. The society was very rigid, very orthodox, as you can see here. She was a girl and she was ruling. She was a woman, she was ruling. People did not like it. She got involved with an Abyssinian slave. People did not like it. He was a black slave. People did not like it. He was a non-Turkish. We are talking about, Yakut here, and people did not like it. So, orthodoxy in a way killed Razia. So then Balban came. See here. People are like, sir, why have you written Balban period from 1246 to 1287? In reality, he ruled from 1266 to 1287. We have already seen the whole story. That from 1246 to 1266, his son-in-law Nasiruddin Mahmud is ruling. But in a way, Nasiruddin Mahmud is like, bro, I don't want to rule. So, Papa, that is father-in-law, Balban, you rule and I will just stay with my wife. Although he did not produce any child, he died childless in 1266. Balban virtually took over. So, many historians now believe that almost for 41 years, Balban was virtually ruling. Fine. So, here you have to pay attention to certain things. You already know the chronology now. You already know some history now. Women were suppressed in a way. Women are still suppressed in a way. But again, subordination of women, we have talked about it. There was a case also, Atul Subhas. So stories go here and there. Let's not talk about it that much. Everybody is getting suppressed to a certain extent. Men, women, everybody is suppressed. But yes, subordination of women is a concept of almost all historical societies according to Upinder Singh ma'am. The point is degree of subordination of women. Fine. So now here you will see some words like Ulugh Khan. Ghiyasuddin Balban was known as Ulugh Khan. So, and later on also you will see different rulers and they will take the title of Ulugh Khan. You're like, dude, so many Ulugh Khan. So, what is Ulugh Khan? Please don't get confused with these Ulugh Khan. Later on also you will see many Delhi Sultanate rulers taking the title of Ulugh Khan. And they were never going to ask you that, who is two kings and Ulugh Khan, which of them are correctly matched or something. Why? Because Ulugh Khan is a title. Just like when you have seen Hindu rulers, they used to take the title of Vikramaditya. Similarly, Ulugh Khan is a title in Islam. So this is kind of a title, and Ghiyasuddin Balban was also known as Ulugh Khan. Later on, different rulers will be known as Ulugh Khan. And again, the same story is written here. He died without hair, and Balban's experience. Now see, the thing is, Balban has seen a lot of things. He has experience, and that's why experience counts. I'm telling you it from my perspective. Earlier, I used to get angry very soon, not very soon, once in 2 months, but now I don't get angry at all. Why? Because I've started writing my thoughts in my journal, online journal. So that helps me in consolidating my thoughts. So you understand these things via experience. Until I was like, I don't have an offline journal, so I will not write anywhere. You have to write. Currently, I'm reading a book which is known as Murder Mindfully. You may be like, sir, what book are you reading? But I have already told you, and we have to understand these things, that after reading Atomic Habits, I have uninstalled, Amazon Prime, Netflix, etc. because Atomic Habit had that impact on me. So I started reading book. Murder Mindfully is a Netflix show which is getting a lot of rave reviews. I cannot watch it, so I'm reading it. So that is actually a very good book which talks about meditation. Murder is one aspect of it. So meditation helps, and this you can also inculcate in your daily life, because UPSC preparation is one of the toughest preparation in your life, and you need a little bit of meditation. Fine, sir. So Ulugh Khan, Nayab region, again, they are talking about all these things. Balban has seen a lot. He was part of Corps of 40. So one thing he realized was he has to suppress this Corps of 40. He has to suppress this Turkane Chehalgani. So he adopted a policy called as blood and iron. So blood and iron policy. Later on, when you are you will talk about world history, or when you read world history in mains, you will read about German unification. There also you will see some guy will adopt this blood and iron policy. So blood and iron policy means you Except that I am a representative of God, I am a Jille Ilahi, and you do Sizda and Paibos. Sizda, main karu pyar ka Sizda. That is Sajda. So again, Sizda and Paibos, prostration, you kiss my feet and all those stuff. If you're not doing that, go and get yourself killed. That is blood and iron policy. He adopted this particular policy. He started Persian festival Nowruz. He did some amount of good things, a lot of bad things. And we can understand why he did what he did, because he was living in a scenario where you cannot trust anyone, You are coming by killing some other people. So how can you assume that other people are not going to kill you? So the situation was little, dicey at that particular point of time. So again, Balban, he was convinced. Again, we have discussed all these things. So he will try to take that he is a representative of God. And earlier also we have discussed this. He will say that he is a descendant of Iranian hero Afraisiyab. In the previous lecture, we have discussed who is this Afraisiyab, in which particular book he is mentioned. You see why he is doing all these things? Because he has to show he was a part of Corps of 40. He know all the tricks, what these Turkish noble will do to him. So before they do anything to him, he will start doing things to them, He will kill them. He will adopt blood and iron policy. He will tell them to kiss his feet, not any other thing, kiss his feet, Sajda and Paibos, and he will take these titles, that he is God's shadow on earth, Zille Ilahi, deputy of God, Niyabate Khudai, and then he will say that he is a descendant of Afraisiyab. Where have we talked about Afraisiyab? Umesh is awesome. You Dark, and there are some other guys. You people are very good here. And everybody is good. All of you are awesome. So yes, Afraisiyab, we have discussed it when we were talking about Firdausi, who wrote Shahnama. Firdausi, one of the longest poem, if not the longest poem, Shahnama, written by a single author. Shahnama. And who brought? Firdausi used to work with whom? Which particular ruler? Firdausi, Al-Baruni. They were associated with one particular ruler. And that ruler was Mahmud Ghazni. Fine. So again, Balban 1246 to 1287, or you can, use it like 1266 to 1287. You understand why we are writing like this. So what he said, he is like, I'm the representative of God, you have to do Sizda. And what is Sizda? I will show you. They used to, prostrate, and they used to just slip on the floor, and they will kiss Sultan's feet, that is Paibos, all these things. So these are not so good things. You will not believe, even in some of the South Asian countries or Southeast Asian countries, Sizda and Paibos still goes on. I will show you some images later on, that these things you may feel like, sir, who does that? People still do that in some countries where the, the ruler is somewhat dictator. Very good, Dark here. So again, Persian festival Nowruz he started, that is actually a good thing. And then later on, he will tell his son Bukhara Khan. We have talked about Bukhara Khan. Bukhara Khan, who was the ruler of Bengal, who did not want to become the ruler of India. And then his son became the ruler of India while he was the ruler of Bengal. It's not like, his son revolted. He became the king of India because his father, Bukhara Khan, did not want to become the king. So Balban told his son Bukhara Khan that, bro, please ensure that you are not taking too much taxes from people who are very vulnerable. You will see all these kind of things. And then you will realize that, oh my God, he's a good guy. And then he will say certain things, according to Bernie, that when I'm seeing a non-Turkish guy or ignoble guy or something, my blood boils and all those stuff. Then you realize he's not a good guy. So what point I'm trying to make is these kind of figures, these kind of kings, they are very complex figure. You cannot judge them on the basis of one or two things. And generally, when you're ruling for this longer amount of time, you will become complex because you will see a lot of things in your life, right? So again, Persian festival Nowruz, this in general we can say it's a good thing. You have to remember these from exam perspective. Sizda Paibos, not that good, And then again, policy of blood and iron, kill them, means appointed spies. And here there are terms which you have to remember, Barid and Muhniyan. So Barid and Muhniyan, they are terms associated with spies and intelligence officer. And Alauddin Khilji, what will happen after Balban goes and one or two killing happens by Jalaluddin Khalji, he will come and he will be like, no, I am a very old guy, so I will follow a policy of appeasement, I will not fight and all these things. But later on, during the period of Alauddin Khilji, you will see these spies becoming more active. These Barids and Muhniyan, you have to remember these terms, they will ask you. Just like they can ask you Nishka, Shatmana and Krishnala, what are they? Similarly, they can ask you Barid and Muhniyan refers to what? They are spies or intelligence officer. It is continuing as a part of customs even now in some countries, sir. Very good, eh? So please understand all these points. Blood and iron, German unification, you can combine it. So now, what we are discussing, I'm just giving you multiple points related to Balban. In pre, in mains, everywhere it will help you a lot, right? And these are complex figures. So we see here there is a point related to his good, not means good things, and that's why we are saying that he's a good boy. Later on we'll see some not so good things. We'll realize, oh my god, he's not a good boy. So again, both points we should know as a, or you should know as a UPSC aspirant, right? So what are the combination? What are the points which we are seeing? He is saying to his son Bukhara Khan. This is not Prince Muhammad. His most loved son was Prince Muhammad. Bukhara Khan is his other son. So with this point you have to keep it in mind, right? So he advised his son Bukhara Khan that you have to, here again terms are there. Like Kharaj you are saying, that is a land tax. Similarly you have to understand Khalisa. So there are some terms which will come, and via stupid jokes I will ensure that you remember them. Like, so Barid Mohinians related to spies and intelligence officers, you know. Kharaj, land tax. Khalisa, anybody has any idea what is Khalisa? Is it related to Khaleesi of Game of Thrones? Or is it something else? Oh my god, I'm so stupid. So Khaleesi and Khalisa are the same. Kharaj, we can see land tax. So this particular term you will hear a lot. Kharaj, 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 Kharaj. So Kharaj is land tax. Now you have to understand Khalisa. Khalisa also you will hear a lot. What is Khalisa? Khalisa is crown land. Later on, if you read NCERT and when we talk about Mughals, you will see there were some people who will come from outside and they will say that all the lands in India belong to Mughals, every land is Khalisa land. So they had this preconceived or misconception that king owns all the land of the country called India, you know. Hope you are understanding. So they have this misconceived notion. We have talked about ownership of land, that there are three concepts: individual ownership, community ownership and royal ownership. That is, land belongs to the king. And that land which belongs to the king is known as Khalisa, crown land. So please remember this. Very good here, Khalisa. So Kharaj, Khalisa, they are not same, they sound same. And again, here you are hearing some good things about Balban, that he was concerned about the people who were not in a very good condition, poor people. But then, and again here also, same thing. As a Sultan, whenever the army camped anywhere, he used to pay special attention. Have a look at this. You need to know both the perspective, right? Against Mongols, he used the policy of force and diplomacy. Again, a good thing. Because you cannot follow a appeasement policy with those guys who believes in just cutting you, you know, into pieces and ransacking you. So you have to fight at one point of the time or the other. It's not like if somebody is hitting you on one cheek, you will give another cheek. Those guys will take anything and everything apart from cheeks also. So you have to be very aware here. And that's why Balban also, later on Alauddin Khilji also, Muhammad bin Tughlaq also. Tughlaq was like a, you will hear so many funny stories related to Tughlaq and Mongols. You're like, oh my god, that guy was something else entirely. So yes, these guys you will see, the force, you know, the pressure and the attacks will happen on Mongols now. Alauddin Khilji, he will defeat Mongols a lot. One time he will become a little bit complacent and then Mongols will come very close to Delhi, Battle of Khilji, and they will ransack some areas. And then he will learn his lesson and then again he will keep on destroying Mongols. Alauddin Khilji. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was like, dude, why are we waiting for Mongols? Let's go to their area and ransack their areas just like they ransack other areas. But then something else happened which we'll talk about later on. So Khalisa is a royal tax taken by Delhi Sultanate. Very good, Sundaram. So please remember this, 3 major invasions happened during Balban period, Mongol invasion. 6 major invasion will happen during the period of Alauddin Khilji. Here in 3 major invasion, the 1285 invasion, Battle of Vyas River is very important, which we have discussed, I think, multiple times now. Battle of Vyas River, because he lost his son, Prince Muhammad, whom he wanted to become the king of Delhi Sultanate in that battle. And he was very disheartened by that. So we have seen the good things. Now we are saying that he was not a good boy. Why? Because he is saying this according to Barni, Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi, Fatwa-e-Jahandari. And we have seen Barni talks about almost all the major dynasty, that is Slave, Khalji and Tughlaq. He will not talk anything after that because he was not there, you know. So he is saying this about Balban. Whenever I see a base-born, ignoble man, my eyes burn and I reach in anger for my sword. So what he is actually saying in simple word is, whenever I'm seeing a non-Turkish guy or a guy who does not belong to the higher clan, I just, you know, I don't like them. So you have to be either a Turkish or I don't like you. So again, that is not a very good thing, and that's why this sir is so concerned that he was not a good boy. making an impression of him that he was good. So again, these kind of guys, they are complex. So Balban died in 1287, almost 41 years of direct and indirect rule, 20 years of indirect rule during the period of Nasiruddin Mahmud, and 21 years of from 1266 to 1287 direct rule. So when Balban died, one of his grandsons, Kaikabad, was made the Sultan. We have discussed the whole story. He wanted to make Prince Muhammad the king. He died in Battle of Byas River 1285. Then he asked Bukhara Khan, who was the other son who was ruling Bengal, please be the king. He was like, dude, Papa, I'm happy here in Bengal. I don't want to become the king of whole India. I am terrified of all of the other people. So then he said that he believed, or he tried to ensure that the son of Prince Muhammad, he becomes the king. But he also died. And then this Kaikabad, who is the son of Bukhara Khan, he became the king. Son of Bukhara Khan. So, son is ruling over whole India, and the king means the father is ruling over Bengal. And then Kaikabad, he will appoint Jalaluddin Khilji as one of the higher post. And then Jalaluddin Khilji will kill Kaikabad. And then Kaikabad had a small son of 2-3 years. His name was Kayumar. And then Jalaluddin Khilji kills Kayumar also. So here you will see a little bit of, not little bit, too much of bloodshed. He is also 21 years of old, around 20 years old when he dies. And then his son is around 2, 3 or 4 years old, Kayumar, when he dies. And Jalaluddin Khilji, who is around 70 years of old, he kills them. And then Barni will say about Jalaluddin Khilji that he is such a noble man, he cannot even kill an ant. Dude, are you serious? So they can ask you about whom Barni said that he is so, peace-loving that he cannot even kill an ant. He killed a Kaikabad who later on became, crippled or something. Then he killed his 3-4 years old son Kayumar. And you are saying that he cannot kill even an ant. This is, I don't know what this is. So again, there is a question related to Balban in mains, and why this mains question can help you in prelims crash, because this will give you idea and this will help you remember facts. Here you have to talk about both the good and the bad things. Good things, Persian festival, Nowruz, he consolidated his army, he fought against, Mongols, he defeated them, he faced them 3 times. All of the 3 times he ensured that they are not entering into our frontier. And Battle of Vyas River, he lost his son. So many good things. And then the bad things, Sizda, Paibos, all these things, and how he had so much bad feelings about non-Turkish people. So that way you can consolidate your thoughts. And these are the things which is written here. Significance, tight control over Iqtidars and blood and iron policy. He was a part of Turkane Chahalgani. This part you have to remember. This is a very important fact, bro. They have asked it in multiple exams. Which Delhi Sultanate ruler started Persian festival, a New Year festival Nowruz? You have to remember it. This is Balban. Last ruler of this dynasty was Kayumar. Kaimur ya Kayumar he is known as, and he was the son of Kaikabad. Fine. Persian festival Nowruz, good looking ladies. Significance, great emphasis on maintaining a large efficient army. Battle of Vyas River, he lost his son Prince Muhammad. We have talked about Prince Muhammad a lot so that you can remember Battle of Vyas River. When was it fought? If like UPSC want to make this particular question a tough question, they can ask you Battle of Vyas River was fought during the reign of, and then they will give you different rulers, Alauddin Khilji, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Balban, etc. So you have to remember this. Fine. Who would win? Some tribesmen, Asia and half of Europe. The answer is some tribesmen, and those tribesmen were Mongols. Oh my God, these guys were ferocious. They are just like Central Asian tribe. And earlier also we have talked about Hunas, how they played a crucial role in, the decline of Gupta Empire. These Mongols played a crucial role in decline of almost all the major empires of the world. Central Asian tribes, why do you think they are so ferocious? Because Central Asian countries, Central Asian area at that particular point of time, even now, they consist of grassland, they don't have fertile soil. So the only way they can ensure that they have sufficient resource is to ransack other territories. So that's why ransacking is a common feature of these Central Asian tribe, Mongols, Hunas included. Fine. So again, despotic Sizda, Paibo, see here. This is happening in some Southeast Asian country. If you can realize, or if you can post it in the comment section, who is this guy in front of whom Sizda etc. is happening. That lady is still not doing Paibos. So again, and this is the part. He was not very happy, or he did not have any good looking policy towards the non-Turkish people. He is saying these kind of statements. We have discussed this related to Balban. Now let's come to our questions. So we have done 3, practice questions, which include some PYQs and whatnot. So this is the 4th question. We still have 6 more questions to do after this. So how did Sultan Qutbuddin Aibak die? This is a PYQ, UPSC PYQ. UPSC has asked this earlier. What is the answer? They have and used horses, sir. Yes, very good. Horses have come even like after Vedic period. Okay, so Umesh has given the answer, Anju has given the answer, Dark has given the answer. Just give me a second. Yes, sir. So again, this is an easy question, right? Up until now, you have witnessed so many tough questions. You may be feeling relieved that you got this question. So he died after a fall from his horse while playing Chogan, which is also known as horse polo. And that's why A was saying we have horse now. We have horse from Vedic period. People are still debating whether we have horse in Vedic means Indus Valley civilization or not. So again, some excerpts from NCERT, Kutubuddin Aibak. Fifth question, Purusha Shukta Him is part of. Again, you people revise Vedic period lecture. You people have forgotten a lot. A. Rigveda, B. Yajurved, C. Samved, D. Atharved. Remember you explaining Chogan. Okay, Manisha. Chogan means horse polo. Horse polo is like, you know, when they are riding on the horse and they are doing tuk 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 tuk. That's how I can explain it. You may have seen it. People in fancy attire riding on the horse and then they are hitting a ball with a big stick. So that is Chogan, horse polo. People still play it in a much fancier manner. So Purusha Shukta Him is a part of, as you people are saying, Rig Veda. We have talked about it when we were talking about early Vedic period, and we were talking about Purusha Shukta Him, part of Rig Vedic Samhita, which has talked about, or where we are finding the earliest reference of Varna system. And they are saying Brahman, Rajanya, Vaishya, Shudra. Instead of Kshatriya, they have used the word Rajanya. So please don't forget these things. Okay, sir. So now let's talk about Khaljis. Delhi Sultanate, Khalji dynasty, 1290 to 1320 AD. Although the time period is very less, but it is a very effective period because they started certain things which will be followed by Tughlaqs later on. So you can divide it into two major kings, you know. One is Jalaluddin Khalji, who is ruling from 1290 to 1296. He is the one who will establish this Khalji dynasty. He will kill Kaikabad, Kayumar, you know, and many people believe again, you have to kill. If you have to become a king, you have to kill, right? But all in all, he was generally a, you know, passive kind of a guy who used to follow a policy of appeasement. He was like, okay, I will not anger ulema, I will not anger anyone, I will follow a tolerance kind of a policy. Plus, we have discussed this, Khalji accession, although the way in which it happened by killing a crippled 17-20-year-old guy Kaikabad and then his 3-4-year-old son Kayumar, that is very debatable when you see it in current context, who kills a 3-4-year-old guy. But again, that happens in kingdom. Many people at that time relished Khalji dynasty. They were very happy that Khalji dynasty came and it replaced slave or Mamluk dynasty. And many people are assuming that this is a revolution. We have just discussed it. Before that, what was happening? What was Balban's stance and what other people were saying? Okay, so we have discussed this, that Turkish noble, Turkane Chehelgani, corps of 40, how much say they had and how Turkish people used to occupy the highest post. But these Khaljis, although they were Turkish, but the exact term which we are using for them is Turko-Afghan. Turko-Afghan means, they can ask you this, who are Turko-Afghan? Later on you will see that Lodhis are Afghani. Most of these are Turkish people, Lodhis are totally Afghani, but please remember, Khaljis are Turko-Afghan. Turko-Afghan means they are Turkish people, but they have lived in Afghanistan, a region known as Khilji, and that's why they are known as Khalji. And that's why they were seen as a revolution, because they did not discriminate that much between Turkish and non-Turkish people. It was all about meritocracy, how, you know, how talented you are, and that's how you will reach up the ladder. So that's why many people believe that it was a revolution. Here it's not about you are at a higher post because of ulemas or corps of 40. No, you are at a higher post because you are talented enough. So all these things led people to believe that Khalji dynasty was a revolution. And then other things, that during the period of Alauddin Khilji, market regulation happened. Shahnai Mandi, he regulated the prices of so many things, you know. He gave salaries to army officials, and then he maintained a strong amount of army. He faced Mongols 6 times, defeated them almost all times, you know. And at that time period, he almost took 50% tax. Most of the time when we are talking about tax, That is 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6. During his period, it was the highest, which we have seen, 50%. If you are growing 100 grams, grain, 50 grams will go as tax. Even then, we are not seeing any evidence of famine and all those things. He managed it so well. And here we are talking about Alauddin Khilji. And again, how he managed it? Because he maintained the prices. He took price control measures, Shahnai Mandi. He had food market, he had horse market, he had slave market, he had so many people, Barid and Muhniyan, spies. So all these things led people to say that Khalji period was a revolution. Ulemas are the, heads, religious heads. Eh? Fine. So now you will see some bloodshed. So when Khalji dynasty are getting established, there will be some bloodshed, and that's why this image is here. So Balban was succeeded by 17-year Kaikabad, who was the son of Bukhara Khan. We have talked about Bukhara Khan a lot. He appointed this Jalaluddin Firoz Khalji, Jalaluddin Khalji, as the commander who will later kill him. So that shows what history teaches us. You cannot trust anybody. Trust. And this is not only one thing, even we have talked about Bakhtiyar Khilji, how he went for a Tibet expedition, appointed Ali Mardan Khalji as the governor of Bengal. You rule on my behalf. I'll come from Tibet. He came from Tibet exhausted. Ali Mardan killed him. So what is the lesson which you are getting from history? You may feel like you are close to somebody, and then they will leave in an instant when something bad happens. So you cannot trust anybody. You just have to trust yourself. And here, this is a life lesson for all of us. History teaches us something, although we never learn from it. So again, sir, Khalji assassinated Kaikabad and assumed power, thus ending the Mamluk dynasty and starting the Khalji dynasty. See here, there is a debate, as somebody was saying in the comment section, that Kayumar is the last ruler. Kayumar is a very, 3-4-year-old son of Kaikabad. So in many books, they write Kaikabad as the last ruler. In many books, they write Kayumars. And I don't think UPSC will ever give you that question where they have written both Kaikabad and Kayumar. If they have given that option, you have to choose Kayumar. But many people believe that Kaikabad was the last ruler. Kayumar, nobody believes that he was the ruler. He was a doodh pita bacha, a kid who was drinking milk. So as Hegel said, we have learned from history is we haven't learned anything from history. Anyone can backstab at any point of time. Exactly. You cannot trust anyone, just trust yourself. So we are seeing now, this point is very important. This slave dynasty, Mamluk dynasty, Turkish dynasty, Turkani Chehalgani, higher post assigned to Turkish people. They are Turko-Afghan. Although they are Turkish, they have lived in Afghanistan region called as Khalji, and that's why they are known as Khilji. So the name Khalji refers to an Afghan village or town known as Kalate-Khalji or Fort of Khilji. So that's why they are known as Khilji. And since they have lived in, they are Turkish, they have lived in Afghanistan, so they have broadened their horizon. It's not like only Turkish people will be at the higher post. So again, that's what is written here. They were treated by others as ethnic Afghans due to their intermarriages with the local Afghans. Khilji rebellion was welcomed by non-Turkish section of the nobility. That's what we are discussing from last 5-10 minutes. And many people believe that it was a revolution because now talent will be rewarded. And as our Honorable Modi sir says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas or Sabka Prayas. All these things will happen during Khalji dynasty, or people believed it like that now anybody can reach the upper echelon based on their talent. And that's why Khalji dynasty is considered as a revolution. So again, these points we have discussed. Have a look at this, what is written here. Why was Khalji dynasty a revolution? Market regulations, Shahnai Mandi, Barid and Muhniyans. We have discussed all these points. These are market regulators, Shahnai Mandi, who will keep a tab on the prices of foods, grains, horses, slaves. He will do so many things. These Khaljis ruled for 30 years but did a lot of stuff, especially Alauddin Khilji. He will start branding of horses. What is branding of horses known as? Anybody has any idea? Why they lived in Afghanistan, sir? If you see Turkey region, Afghanistan comes in between. So they were like, dude, let's live in Afghanistan for a bit before we go any further. Maybe they were tired, eh? That point is always, debatable. But yeah, they're coming from Turkish region, Arab people. So some of them settled in Afghanistan. Those people were called as Khaljis and they ruled over us for a certain period of time. Fine. So again, branding of horses. This is known as Dag. What is branding of horses? See, when they are fighting Mongols a lot. We have seen Balban fought Mongols 3 times. Battle of Vyas River 1285, lost his son Prince Muhammad. Khaljis will fight Mongols 6 times. Battle of Kili, Mongols came very close because Alauddin Khilji became complicit and they ransacked some portion nearer to Delhi, So yes, so branding of horses is needed. Branding of horses means we have to see which horse is of which quality. So superior quality horse will be given a different brand and inferior quality horse will be kept aside for some other non-Mongol activities, you know. We will not fight Mongols with these horses, we'll fight with the better ones. So this is branding of horses. They even did branding of soldiers. What was that branding of soldiers? Anybody has any idea? All these things were done during the period of Alauddin Khilji again, which lead us or lead scholars to believe that it was a revolution. 30-year period in smallest of all the, you know, Delhi Sultanate dynasty, but seen as a revolution. In land revenue administration, we have discussed during their period, during Alauddin Khilji period, 50% land tax, bro, highest ever seen in our country. Even then, no famine, no major rebellion or revolt. Maybe Alauddin Khilji was very high-handed kind of a guy, very aggressive kind of a guy, but still people would have or should have revolted, but they didn't, because people were happy, prices were controlled. Even though, let's say you are giving 50% tax, but you are getting things at rupees 2. You are, you know, like our MPs get in Lok Sabha and Parliament. In 10 rupees they get mutton, chawal and all those stuff. So if the prices are very low, even if I'm paying half of my money as tax, it won't bother me that much. But let's say I'm paying 50% tax and the prices are, you know, 150 rupees for dal, chawal and all those stuff. So I'll be like, dude, kill me now. So again, these are the reasons why Khalji dynasty, a period, is seen as a revolution. Yes, as Harish said, branding of soldiers, that is known as Chehra system. Branding of soldiers, why it is needed? Sometimes Ram will come and he will say he is Shyam. You know, to ensure that the correct people whom they have recruited is coming in the army, branding of soldiers is also needed. That is Chehra system. The again, Chehra. So did the Khaljis grow India's relation with foreign? His diplomatic acumen. See, at that time, again, we can debate, Manisha, how much they developed and all these things. They were in contact with, because, you know, they were from foreign regions, so they were always going to those regions and we were getting intermixed with them. Cultural interaction happened and that's why you are seeing all these things and all these, how can I tell you? Again, international relation we cannot bring here, or, you know, these cultural interaction we can always say that is a long drawn process which was going on during the period of Delhi Sultanate. Fine. And again, if you're talking about these things, when we talk about branding of horses, Dag, you will see Afghani horses, Multani horses, they were in demand at that point of time because those were high quality horses. So those were coming. So that way you can see that India's relation with so-called foreign countries were growing on. But you know, these country phenomena, this nationalism, internationalism phenomena, we can always debate about it. You know, is it a recent phenomena or it has been going on since eternity? Fine, sir. So all these things. But the negative aspect is too much impact or emphasis on, you know, military. Like later on we'll see, we have talked about different stages of annexation during the period of Samudragupta. How in the first stage, he captured areas closer to Patliputra, and then in the second stage, he went south after eliminating the Atavira Rajas, the tribal people. Then he went to south, he met Pallava king Vishnu Gopa. Go and revise Gupta period lecture. So similarly, different stages of annexation you will see during the period of Alauddin Khilji as well. So some people say that there was too much emphasis on the military aspect, you know. So that is one negative point related to Khalji dynasty. Other things also, right? And we'll talk about it. So as we have seen here, many people believe that Khalji dynasty was a revolution because here we are not discriminating that much between Turkish and non-Turkish people, and everybody, as our Honorable Prime Minister sir says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and something else, Sabka Prayas. And as we keep on adding all these things to Sabka, UPSC aspirants, they get worried a lot because now they have to remember all these different sabkas that everybody is coming together. Hope you are understanding the joke here. We love Modi sir, we love everyone. So now Jalaluddin Khalji, 1290 to 1296 AD, 6 years period, he will be killing Kaikabad and Kayumar, you know, and he was around 70 years old. So he was like, dude, I don't want to do any more killing. I've already killed Kaikabad, Kayumar. So now I will adopt a benevolent policy. I will marry my daughter to a good looking guy called as Alauddin Khilji. Maybe Alauddin Khilji was at that time having a government job. So this is a meme on government job. You know, many people want government job in our country because they want a good wife. And families will give you a good girl if you have a good government job. So again, why we are taking this particular image? To understand that Jalaluddin Khilji married his daughter to a guy called Alauddin Khilji, who will later kill him. So these killings happen because you want power. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So 70 years old, and Alauddin Khilji was his son-in-law. He was the governor of Kara. Kara is a place in UP, you know. And in 1296, during a reception there, Alauddin Khilji treacherously murdered his father-in-law Jalaluddin Khilji, and this you may have seen it in Padmavat. Alauddin Khilji was your Ranveer Singh. Jalaluddin Khilji was your Raja Murad. Raja Murad, I think he was that guy. That's how you can remember these person. Fine. So if we talk about Jalaluddin Khilji, according to Barni, I am not saying this because seriously speaking, I don't believe he was that, liberal or humanitarian when you're killing, Kai ka baat kai umar. But again, according to Balban, he was not harsh, as harsh like according to, Barni, he was not as harsh like Balban, and he was not, that strict and blood and iron. No, no, no. He tried to gain the goodwill of nobility. He was like, I will gain the goodwill of everyone because I have killed 2 people. 2 king means small kids, but many people are seeing it as a revolution because I'm not discriminating between Turkish and non-Turkish people. So he wanted to win the goodwill and support of the people. You can see it here. So Barni is saying this in the and this is important from exam perspective. They can ask you, and they have already asked it in different exam. Barni said about whom? That he believed in a policy of not harming even an ant. And that's why Brahmanandam sir, I think many of you may have heard about Brahmanandam sir. He is saying kuch bhi, anything bro. He killed 2 kids and you are saying that he cannot harm even an ant. But again, here our policies, Brahmanandam sir's views does not matter. What matter actually is Barni said about whom this particular quote, or who said about Jalaluddin Khilji that he cannot harm even an ant. So these are the points which you have to remember. Kritika Padan government job. So again, these are the things which is important from exam perspective. Yes, sir. Now let's come to the real hero of that Khalji dynasty. Don't kill me for killing Alauddin, means saying Alauddin Khilji as a hero. He was seen as a hero in the Khalji dynasty because all these market regulation, price control measures, means facing Mongols 6 times happened. This is a joke, Harish. This was a meme. So yes, sir. Alauddin Khilji, 1296 to 1316 C, 20-year period he ruled. And at the end of the period, or when around 1316, Malik Kafur, you may have again seen Padmavat. So he became very suspicious. We'll talk about it later on. So initially, what he will do, his policies will be very similar to Balban. Because again, he has killed his father-in-law. So he is very suspicious. And again, he has his apprehensions that I have to see who is with me, which nobles are with me, which nobles are not with me. And then he passed some ordinances. He had installed Barid and Muniyans, intelligence officer, etc., etc. He believed that whatever waqf or inam land, which are, charitable lands given to different nobles, they should be taken apart. Nobles should not be having too much money, because if they have too much money, they will not work. And in Hindi, we have a saying, Khali dimag shaitan ka ghar. What does that mean is, if you are sitting idle, then you will plot things. And in that scenario, you can plot against the king. So he was like, we should leave only that much amount with the people, in that scenario, people will be working. If they're sitting idle, that is not good for me. So he, as you can see here, he was a guy who did not trust a lot of people. So he passed different kind of ordinances, and we will see them one by one. His approach to state, highly centralized. Just like Balban, he will adopt the policy of blood and iron, very centralized nature. Shadow of earth, Jille Ilahi, all those concepts which we have associated with Balban, you can see here now with Alauddin Khalji as well. Arnab. Okay. Yes, sir. So his approach, again, we have discussed all these things. Have a look at it. Now, regulations, these things are important. What we have discussed, all the nobles, here there are terms, just like we have discussed, the Khalisa land, the Kharaj, which was called land tax. Here you have to pay attention to Waqf or Inam. Waqf land anyway is in use from current affairs perspective also, land given for charitable purpose. All these were, some of these were confiscated, because what he is believing that, if you are sitting idle, you will plot things against me. So I will be leaving only bare minimum with you so that you people are working. Doesn't matter you are a noble or not a noble. So now at 9 PM, you will be called a not so Republican studio and would be forced by preacher in chief nation. Okay. So yes, sir. So all these things are written here. Reform regulation number 1. Reform regulation number 2. Please remember the names. Spies, Barid and Muhniyan. These are the words, these are the terms which you have to keep in mind. Just like when somebody is coming to your home, you are a girl, some boy is coming, so the nearby aunties will be looking who is coming, who is going. Similarly, he created his network of spies who will be having a look at all these nobles and whether they are having convivial parties or not. Convivial parties means when they're meeting for fun purpose. He's like, Khalji is like, no, no, no. And here, a Khalji we are talking about, no, no, no. You will not have any convivial parties because in these parties, plotting will happen. So as we can see here, he was suspicious. Not a little suspicious guy. he had some trust issues. Maybe he had some issues with his girlfriend also. Who knows? We cannot comment on that. So as we have discussed, Barid Muhniyans are these spies. They are like our neighbor aunties. Barid Muhniyans. You know, you have to remember them. And that's how you will remember these names. Fine, sir. And third regulation, wine drinking was prohibited, because when you drink wine, you you think and you say anything, you behave in any which manner. And sometimes in that period, nobles used to kill also other people, and they would go to other people's house and they will kill because they had so much power. So he was like, no, wine is the root cause of all the issues. So let's, do this whole thing which Bihar has done, Gujarat has done. Wine drinking is forbidden. But again, that was useless, just like it is useless in some of our states right now, where you have prohibited it, but people are still drinking it because they cannot live without it, So again, you cannot drink like this. This is not allowed. Nobles were forbidden. All these things are telling you that he was having a very centralized authority, just like Balban, but he was, many scholars believe that in many ways he was more successful than Balban, as when it comes to market regulation, when it comes to taxes. He was taking so much taxes, but still the rebellions, whatever you have seen, were very low. Even droughts, famines, you are not encountering in that period. He witnessed 6 Mongol invasions. He faced them all, and he even defeated them. Battle of Khilji was an exception to a certain extent. Even then, he did not allow them to enter that much into India's territory, although they reached as close as Delhi. But we have already discussed during the period of Jalauddin Khalji, Jalauddin Khilji allowed some Mongols to settle in certain portions of India when they converted to Islam. But Alauddin Khilji never was very confident about these Mongols who were living at the northwest frontier. He was always very suspicious about their motives. TN government selling liquor, sir. So sad and saying avoid. Okay, about to fall from a balcony while spying me. Okay, these things happen. You people are writing so many things in the comment section. Good, sir. Let's focus. So military reforms, these are important things. He abolished the Zagir system. See, we have discussed about all these things. When your military will be performing at their optimal best. Let's say you are taxing 50%, and then even the military people, they will be like, oh God, you are taxing us also 50%. But you are paying us handsome amount of salary, and you are keeping the prices of other things, almost everything in check. Then I don't have an issue. I will pay 50% tax if I'm getting, veg thali at ₹2. So I'm happy with it. So that is what is happening here. He's paying his military in cash. He's fixing the pay of salary. Taka. What was Taka? What was Jeetal, bro? We have talked about Taka and Jeetal. Iltutmish introduced them. Taka was associated with which currency it is? Taka, Jeetal, which is silver, which is copper. If you know it, you can post it in the comment section, Fine, sir. So have a look at now, please. When we were talking about Balban, I wanted to tell you that he started a department which was known as Diwan-e-Arj. Please remember these UPSC and other exams, they have asked us. Diwan-e-Arj or Diwan-e-Ariz it is also known as, which was a military department. It was started by Balban. Diwan-e-Arj, Diwan-e-Ariz. They can ask you, who started Diwan-e-Arj or Diwan-e-Ariz? The answer is Balban. Now, in that Diwan-e-Arj or Diwan-e-Ariz, you have an officer called as Ariz-e-Mumlik. So, who appointed Ariz-e-Mumlik or gave this designation? Alauddin Khilji. You have to remember these names. Later on also, we'll talk about some other Diwans, Diwan-e-Insha and Risalat, etc., etc. So, in which period it was introduced, during which king's rule? Those things matter a lot. As Dark said, Taka, silver, and Jeetal is copper. So, Diwan-e-Ariz or Diwan-e-Arj, military department, introduced during the period of Balban. Ariz-e-Mumlik appointed during the period of Alauddin Khilji. These terms, you have to keep it in mind. Conquest and territory. Now, here are the phases, and why Hrithik Roshan is remembering someone, because when you are reading about Alauddin Khilji and his territorial expansion in phases, this will remind you of Samudragupta and his expansion in phases. If you don't remember Samudragupta and his expansion in phases, go to Gupta period lecture and revise it. Just like Samudragupta initially captured areas closer to Patliputra, in the first phase, the area is not very far from Delhi, because what was Patliputra in Samudragupta period, that is Delhi now. In Alauddin Khilji period, he will capture them. In the second phase, he will go to modern Maharashtra and Deccan, and in the last phase, what he will do will be completed by Tughlaqs. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he will shift the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad or Devgiri. So third phase, what he will start will be completed by Tughlaqs. So there are different phases of an accession, just like you talk about Samudragupta. But again, we can debate about it, whether means you can compare Alauddin Khilji with Samudragupta in other aspects or not. But here we can, when we talk about expansion phases, we can compare Alauddin Khilji and Samudragupta. Fine. Cool, sir. Efforts against the Mongols, and this is actually important. We have discussed Balban faced Mongol onslaught 3 times. Battle of Vyas River 1285, lost his son Prince Muhammad. I'm saying it for 100th time today, that thing. He faced his Mongols attack 6 times. They can always give you these numbers, 6 times, 5 times. And most of these times, Mongols faced reverses. In one of these issues or one of these fights, that is Battle of Khilji, which happened around, 1303 or something. That time, this army faced, Alauddin army or Khilji's army faced some reverses because they became complicit, because they have initially defeated Mongols. So that time Delhi was, and they reached very close to Delhi, these Mongols. So this point you have to remember. But again, Balban, Alauddin, Khilji, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, they are very aggressive when it comes to Mongols and when it comes to attacking Mongols. Balban, Battle of Vyas River, Alauddin Khilji, Battle of Khilji, and in the period of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, we'll discuss how he wanted to go to Central Asia and ransack Mongol territories, and he even paid in advance to his soldiers the salary for 1 year. Later on, they abandoned that idea, and that salary which was already given was not taken back. All these policies will lead people to say that Muhammad bin Tughlaq was a, madman, so to say. We'll talk about that. We are nobody to say anything about him. Again, agrarian and economic reforms, land under Khalisa. We have discussed these words. Khalisa is crown land, Kharaj is land tax. So these words you have to pay in, keep in mind. Agrarian and economic reforms, he is controlling the prices, he is keeping the tax high because he has to fight the Mongols, they were a formidable rival at that particular point of time. Fine. Agrarian reforms, Mukaddam Chaudhary. These terms you have to keep it in mind, because if I'm not wrong, UPSC has already asked questions on them. Who is Mukaddam, who is Chaudhary, who is Barid, who is Mohiniyan, what is Kharaj, what is Khalisa. So all these terms, that's why they have been included here. So intermediaries, they did not like intermediaries, just like we don't like intermediaries now when it comes to, I will give you an example here. When you read economy, so in economy you talk about farmers, how much minimum support price, etc. they should get. And then there also we talk about intermediaries. There we talk about agriculture, market committees or different APMCs, mandis, how they have a collusive corruption. They keep the prices. They don't keep the prices what government directs them to. They have their own collusive corruption. Intermediaries eat away the money, So intermediaries, even now we don't like them. Even during that period, Alauddin Khilji did not like them. And demand was same for everyone. If I'm taking 50% tax from you, I will take 50% tax from everyone. And this was the highest tax ever taken, which we have recorded. But even then, this period was, prosperous in one way or the other. So impact of revenue reform, we have talked about this. 50% demand was highest. Up until now, we are talking about 1/3, 1/4, 1/6. 50% is the highest which we have seen. And now, there are terms. Important from exam perspective. They are saying that doesn't matter you are rich or poor, doesn't matter whether you were Ambani of that period or Adani of that period or somebody else of that period, Tata of that period. 50% was applicable for all. And then they are saying that this is regressive taxation. What you have to understand is these words are actually important. What is progressive taxation? What is regressive taxation? You have to understand these words. Like we talk about indirect tax, Indirect tax is a regressive tax. Here, history and economy are merging. Indirect tax is a regressive tax. Why? Let's say you are eating Parle Ji. In UPSC journey, many aspirants, sometimes they have to eat Parle Ji a lot. So, let's say you're eating Parle Ji, you have a big packet, 30 rupees packet, and let's say you're paying tax of 3 rupees on that. So, 10% you have paid tax, And that is actually a good amount. We are just taking an example. It's not like that is the actual amount which we are paying on Parle Ji. So Parle Ji rupees 30, you are paying tax rupees 3, 10%. Let's say your earning is rupees 100. When we are preparing, our earning is 0. But let's keep something to protect our self-pride. So let's say we are earning rupees 100 and we are paying rupees 3 as tax of Parle Ji. That means 3% of our income gone on the taxes on Parle Ji. Let's say Ambani sir, Adani sir, and some big businessman, he is earning rupees something 1,000 or even more than that. He is also paying rupees 3. So he is only paying 0.3% of his income. So that means the poor people are getting impacted more by this indirect tax. And that's why this is regressive in nature. That means it will impact poor people more. And that's why, regressive taxation, progressive taxation. You have to understand these words. A is saying progressive, as income increases, tax increases. Regressive, poor tax more and rich tax less. So hope you understood how indirect tax are regressive tax. UPSC has already asked questions on this, whether indirect tax is a regressive tax or not. Since it is equally applicable for all, it will impact poor more, and yes, it is an indirect tax. That's what they are also saying here. Alauddin Khilji, 50% tax for all. Poor people will be impacted more because their earning is less, you know. So again, mode of payment. He was like, I will have payment in grain format to ensure that there is no famine which is happening, because I will have my own mandis, have my own grain reserve. I'll be keeping grain for contingencies or extreme scenarios to ensure famine does not happen. And that's why you do not see any major famine happening during the period of Alauddin Khilji. Now, there is a question which you have to understand, or people have to understand, when this whole market reforms, Shahanai Mandi, Barid Mohniyan, price control, 50% tax system was so awesome during the period of Alauddin Khilji, why was it not continued by other rulers, the successive rulers? This has been asked in mains. They can ask you in pre also, give you the points also. The point is why it was not continued by the successive rulers. You do not see it getting implemented by other rulers. Why? Because to implement this, you need a guy who is in total control. Alauddin Khilji was that guy. But not other rulers were willing to take that much risk, willing to make that much enemies. Plus, the success of this whole system also depends on your bureaucracy, your officials. If your officials are honest and they're not corrupt, then this system will work properly. But if they are corrupt, the people whom you are telling that, Barid Mohnians, you keep a tab on what is the price and you have to ensure that the prices are controlled. If they are corrupt and they are taking some money from other people, then this whole system will fail. So again, since Alauddin Khilji was that stronger ruler, he was able to implement it. Other rulers were like, dude, we don't want to take that much tension. Let's dismantle it. Let's follow the policy followed by other rulers. So that's why this did not continue. So can we say our contingency fund may be inspired by Khilji dynasty? Again, these kind of things, having a reserve, was done by earlier rulers also. And you are seeing in his scenario also, because he was more concerned because he was taking a lot of tax. So he was like, no, I have to have some amount of contingency. Yeah. Because he maintained total control, as Sundaram is saying. So he had, now see here, it was not like he controlled only one or two things prices. He had food market, cloth market, slave market, this market, that market. He was controlling each and every price. He was that controlling in nature. Nobody likes a controlling human being, At that time, things were going hunky-dory. People accepted him. Other rulers were not that, they did not want to take that much risk. Barni. Tariq-e Firoz Shahi, Fatwa-e Jahandari. Please remember the names of books written by him. So again, all the things which he did. Banjaras, the people who will carry grains, and not only grains, they will also carry ideas. And that is what you will see later on, that these Banjaras will transmit ideas that Delhi is so prosperous. Even though Alauddin Khilji is taking so much taxes, we are not seeing any famines, not seeing major rebellions, all these things. So people will come to Delhi. Delhi will become a center of attraction during his period. So many markets were there, and he was very strict about all these prices. And middlemen, arthiyas, intermediaries, we have seen. And he used to like, I will cut your limbs, I will imprison you if you will increase the prices. So again, he was like, I will kill you, just like Rajpal Yadav is saying here, if you don't listen to me. And he had these kind of spies. Johnny English, he's one of the best spies you will ever see in your life, much better than James Bond. And Barid and Mohnians got inspiration from Johnny English. So you have to remember these words, Barid and Mohniyan, spies, and Johnny English. Anybody has seen Johnny English? You should. We should. Yes, sir. So impact of market reforms on society, they have seen here. People will come to Delhi because Delhi is the place where these things are happening on a larger scale. You have all these markets, and ideas transmission will be done by Banjara people who are carrying grains, who are carrying ideas, transmitting grains. Sir, I feel like going on a train travel with your history lectures. Okay, thank you, Manisha. So yes, sir, all these things are written here. You can have a look at it. Were these reforms successful? Yes, sir, they were successful. We do not hear of any large-scale famine and death of starvation during this period. And he raised a large army. He faced these Mongols invasion successfully. So yes, it was successful. And then the next question is, if it was successful, why it was not continued by other rulers? We have answered it, that it cannot be done by any or every ruler. It has to be done by someone who is so controlling in nature. Alauddin Khilji was that guy. Not everybody was willing to take that risk. That is the thing which is written here. You can have a look at it. Please, please, please have a look at it. And then he was, again, just like we talk about Samudragupta and we talk about other rulers, they gave patronage to this. Even we talk about Ghajni, he brought Firdausi and, Al-Baruni. So here also he gave patronage to Amir Khusro. We'll talk about Amir Khusro later on also. Amir Hassan, although he was illiterate. Just like we talk about Akbar, we'll talk about Akbar later on. He was illiterate, he had a library. There were people who will sing him the books, that yes, this is written in the book, or who will read him the books. So he was illiterate, but he gave patronage to Amir Khusro, Amir Hassan. Amir Khusro got patronage from so many people. We'll talk about this later on also. So yes, he was very, again, maybe these rulers, they realized the potential of Amir Khusro. Urdu, Hindavi, we'll talk about Amir Khusro later on also. He did a lot of things. And then he looted the South India as well. He brought this particular Kohinoor diamond, which was later on taken by Britishers. Now they are wearing it on their head. Don't have any shame at all. Such bad thing. But again, what can we do regarding that? So now what happened after Alauddin Khilji? How he became very suspicious during the end period, and how Tughlaqs will come to accession. We will talk about it tomorrow when we will cover Tughlaq, Sayyid and Lodi. Now let's solve this particular question. Question number 6 of the day. With reference to Indian history, consider the following statement. 2022 question. You may feel like, sir, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, we have not studied it. Even if you have not studied it, you can still solve this question. Have a look at this particular question. With reference to Indian history, consider the following statement. 2022 PYQ. The first Mongol invasion of India happened during the reign of Jalaluddin Khalji. Second, during the reign of Alauddin Khalji, one Mongol assault marched up to Delhi and besieged the city. Third, Muhammad bin Tughlaq temporarily lost portion of northwest of his kingdom to Mongols. Which of the statement given above are correct? A, 1 and 2, B, 2 only, C, 1 and 3, and D, 3 only. So what is the answer? This is a PYQ. And again, take a guess. Even if you're getting this question wrong, it's fine because you have not read about Tughlaqs yet. You will read about Tughlaq tomorrow. So Umesh has given the answer. See, first Mongol invasion did not happen during the reign of Jalaluddin Khalji. That happened during the reign of Iltutmish in around 1221. So that is wrong. So eliminate option, bro. Use option elimination. A and C gone. 1 and 2, 1 and 3 gone. Now you're left with B and D. 2 only, 3 only. We have discussed this. Alauddin Khilji faced attack 6 times during the time of Battle of Kili. They reached up until Delhi and they besieged the city, but they were not able to do any further damage. So second statement is correct. Answer is B2 only. As far as Muhammad bin Tughlaq is concerned, I have told you, he did not lose portion. He was like, we'll go to their area in Central Asia and we'll besiege their cities. But later on, they changed their mind. So second is correct, third is wrong. And the answer is B, that is 2 only. Fine. Seventh question of the day. There are terms, there are meanings. So term number 1, A term is Gomat. Meaning is written one who milks the cow. B, Duhitri. Second point is search for cows. C, Gaveshna. Third point is wealthy person. D, Gopati. Fourth point is Raja or chief. Now you have to select the correct pairs. A option is A2, B1, C4, D3. B option is A2, B1, C3, D4. C option is A3, B1, C2, D4, and D option is A3, B1, C4, D2. And again, these are the terms which I have taken from Vedic period lecture, so you can go and revise that lecture. Gomat, Duhitri, Gaveshna, Gopati. Tough questions, I know these are tough questions, but again, these are the questions which will prepare you for UPSC pre 2025. We are not preparing for, due respect to other exams, but UPSC is the, you have to solve tough questions. So what is the answer, sir and ma'am? See, one thing which you may have known, that Duhitri is the lady, a girl who milks the cow. So B is 1. But here every option has B1. So that is making things tougher for you. Then what else you can do? Anju has given the answer. And then Gaveshna we have seen. Gaveshna, again you go back to Vedic period lecture, you read these things. Gaveshna is who search for cows. C is 2. Now if C is 2, then we get the answer. Even if we would have known only one, that is C is 2, we would have got the answer, that is C. A3, B1, C2, D4. A3, that is Gomat is a wealthy person, Gopati is Raja or chief. And everything is expressed in terms of cattle that show how cattle were important especially during the early Vedic period, right? So the answer is C, A3, B1, C2, D4. Revise, revise, and then revise some more. You know, we have talked about early Vedic period economy. Wealthy person was known as Gomat and his daughter called Duhitri, who milks the cows. Gaveshna search for cows, and Raja or chief is Gopati. Why I'm not getting the answer then when you people have already read these things? Question number 8. Consider the following statements. A. Primogeniture is when the eldest son inherit his father's estate. B. Copercinary inheritance is division of inheritance amongst all the sons. C. Rig Veda is written in classical Sanskrit. How many of the given statements are correct? A. Only one, B. None, C. Only two, D. All three. Okay, so I got answer from Umesh and Manisha. So primogeniture, eldest son inherit his father's estate. That is correct. We have discussed this. Copercinary inheritance is division of inheritance among all the sons. That also is correct. Rig Veda is not written in classical Sanskrit. It is written in Vedic Sanskrit. The earliest form of Sanskrit, and then Sanskrit went different forms and classical Sanskrit came later on. So third statement is wrong. First and second is correct. So that means only two, and you people answered it. First two are definitely correct. Very good, yeah. So Umesh, Manisha, Bulbul, very good. A. So the answer is C, only two. Third is wrong. Rig Veda is written in Vedic Sanskrit. And that Sanskrit was very tough if you read how it was originally written. It's not like classical Sanskrit is that easy. There are very few people in our country who can speak in, Astista Santi. I love Sanskrit. I so want to, revise that. Question number 9. With reference to Vedic period, Satmana, Krishnala and Nishka refer to A. Tribal officers, B. Crops, C. Gold coinage or bars, D. None of the above. Satmana, Krishnala and Nishka, A. Tribal officer, B. Crops, C. Gold coinage or bars, D. None of the above. No, not present Sanskrit. That is the oldest Sanskrit, bro. Classical Sanskrit is the, not the current one, the one which arrived after the Vedic period, But yes, the current Sanskrit which we have is the very simplified Sanskrit, derived from classical Sanskrit in a way. So Anju is saying C. Satmana, Krishnala and Nishka, they are gold coinage or bars, which we have discussed when we were reading Vedic period. Again, revised Vedic period. Last question of the day. Term Lord of the Dakshinapath is mainly associated with A. Satavahanas, B. Pallavas, C. Chola or D. Sunga, who were called Lord of the Dakshinapath. The term is associated with whom? Sir, so far we have only 5 PDFs. I'm sorry, only 5 PDFs. I have given 10 PDFs up until now. See whether they have been uploaded or not. Yeah. So please give me the current status. Do you still have 5 PDFs only? Because I have given up until 10. So I will check. I will ask them again. So term Lord of the Dakshinapath is mainly associated with A. Satavahanas, B. Pallavas, C. Cholas, D. Sunga. Lord of Dakshinapath is Satavahanas. We have discussed this when we are talking about post-Mauryan period. Satavahanas, they are known as Lord of Dakshinapath. Saklottar Pathnatha is a term associated with Harsha. So the answer is A. Satavahanas. Fine. So again, I have told you again and again, and I will keep on telling you, doesn't matter whether you listen to me or not. What is your score? Post it in the comment section. 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 0 out of 10. Don't feel bad about it. Keep a track of it. This track will help you and will make you realize how much you are improving, or your marks is, getting better or worse, and that will help you to, or that will prompt you to work harder. So that's it, sir and ma'am. If you have any doubts, if you want to ask anything, just check now, only 5. So I will post it in the means I will ask them why they have not uploaded more. Don't worry, Manisha, that will be getting uploaded tomorrow. Yes, sir. Any doubt, any queries you have? Otherwise, we'll meet tomorrow and we'll complete the remaining portion of Delhi Sultanate. Do revise this particular portion. That will help you in understanding things in a much better manner. Okay, so Bulbul got 4 out of 10. Good, Bulbul. Awesome. Keep practicing. Okay, Saran ma'am. So I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Be blessed. Tata. Bye-bye.